What we're looking at here is called the Steam Axe. We've all seen the steam machete. Rich and Brian have asked me to build them something with a little bit more power than the steam machete to remove tar from their construction equipment. Rich told me that he has a 4,000 psi 250 degree pressure washer that won't touch this stuff. So what we're looking at right here is the Steam Axe cutting through that tar like it's taffy. I mean, we are literally ripping chunks of solid hard tar off of this squeegee tool here. This stuff is hard as brick before I started here, and the heat from the gun, from the steam and the water and all that combined just does a great job of loosening this stuff up. And wow, was I impressed at how well it can clean this stuff. What's up, fellas? We're going maiden voyage on the Steam Axe. Show you what we got going on here. Any of you guys who have seen the steam machete, you know what's up. This one's a little bit bigger and it runs on liquid fuel. What we're going to try and do today is clean some tar off these construction artifacts. This comes off of a road crew truck, and this is just a hand tool. Essentially, this is also going to be used for ice dam removal. A lot of my ice dam removal guys who have purchased the steam machete have struggled with propane tanks in cold weather. What we got going on here is something pretty awesome. Don't pay attention to this mess here. This is just a pump I'm using for the test. But I want to be able to just connect to a gas can like this with maybe a lid attachment to it like that so you don't spill it. But and we've got a pressure washer with a bypass valve assembly hooked up to it. This particular pressure washer has a router speed controller connected to it so I can control the speed of it. That way I'm not just running full tilt for no reason. So let's get this show on the road. All right, look at 80 to 90 kilowatt flame here. See what this thing can do. This is sand mixed with tar. So it's quite the concoction. There's some type of fibrous material in there too, in some of it looks like. It's very windy out. I just turned up the temp a little bit there, try to get that flame up a little bit higher. I think I'm at about 96,000 watts now. So quite a bit of thermal energy going into this thing, and that was determined by doing fuel consumption testing earlier on in the production of this device. As you can see, the steam, the hot water, and the 96,000 watt hair dryer combined preheat this tar and get it loosened up. So you've got a lot of excess thermal energy going right where the work needs to be. So that's one of the cool things about this particular configuration is all your waste heat from the monotube boiler is blasting directly at the workpiece. And I assure you that the flame or the amount of heat coming off of that is definitely contributing to how fast this tar is melted off of this equipment. It preheats it big time. It's just like holding a blowtorch on the tar. It would definitely burn stuff if you hold it in one spot real long. The heat coming off that is quite hot. Unfortunately, I'm in some very high wind gusts right now, so we're not getting the best benefits that we could. But just look here. This is a huge chunk of hard tar. And Brian, you know how hard this tar is, brother. This is that sand composition, tar and sand mix. It's just, it's like the Habakkuk, man, I'm telling you. This stuff is incredible. If you don't know what the Habakkuk is, that's a massive boat they made out of sawdust and ice a long time ago. It's also a book out of the Bible, but very impressive performance for the first run here. I haven't touched the flame settings or nothing much at all to really try to dial it in, and we're getting down to bare metal pretty quick. So I definitely need to do some nozzle experiments with smaller and larger holes, stuff like that. Do some fan sprays, but this thing's taking it down to bare metal. I don't see the need to get too drastic and completely clean it up, but I just kind of wanted to show you that it can do that. And this thing can just run all day like this off diesel fuel. No more propane tank bullcrap. The problem with propane tanks, guys, is you cannot maintain over 36,000 watts over prolonged periods because your bottle boils off. as that fluid boils, the propane gets so cold in there that there's just nothing you can't get no pressure. You're down to like 60 psi's. So this is pretty much a before and after look. You can see this stuff was definitely tarred up real nice. Couldn't even see the bolts on that part on the right, or on the left for that matter. You can see now, we can clearly see the bolts. This equipment could be disassembled if you were wanting to swap out that squeegee. And same thing with this rubber pad here. I don't know what this does. It's a piece of road crew equipment. But I think we got her cleaned up pretty good, Brian. What do you think? Here's another shot of this thing just chopping through some tar. And like I said, the preheat of the waste heat is one of the best attributes of this design. Those pressure washers that are like 4,000 psi that heat the water don't actually get the water as hot as they advertise. It's not really steam, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I think those things are kind of a gimmick. They don't get the water hot enough. They just warm it up to like warm water. That's what I've seen in my experience anyway. They like to advertise them in the middle of winter because in wintertime, steam is like 50 times more visible. It's about 75 degrees outside right now, guys, so the fact that you can see any steam at all is kind of impressive. It's hard to do. Here's a big old swath of material that comes off. So it will do some serious tar removal. It's taking off massive chunks here, as you can see. It just takes a second to get it preheated, and then once you get it preheated, it gets about as soft as bubble gum. Is about the consistency we're at here. You can see there it just blasted that massive chunk off. So you don't got to really sit here and fiddle it too much, you know. And like I said, tomorrow I'm going to mess with the settings a little bit. Maybe try turning the pressure up. I don't even know what pressure we're running at right now. I'm at the point in experimenting where I'm happy I got the damn thing lit. So as far as getting all picky and tuning it and all that, we haven't got to that yet. So don't take this to be the max performance of this thing, guys. I've been known to show up the next day 10 times more powerful. So I might be able to do some adjusting that just gives us that phenomenal performance we're looking for. This ain't bad right here. I don't know if I would call this great or not. I would call this acceptable. Okay, fellas. So long story short, the damn thing worked pretty good. A little bit of tweaking to be done. There are a couple modifications I need to make. This thing is way heavy. Definitely not a one-handed tool. Okay, so my wife showed up before I got a chance to finish this thing. I had to stop the whole test, get the grill going and stuff, but you can see we were cutting through this stuff, even to the point where you can disassemble it now if you had to. We were able to completely relieve those bolts, and this stuff is hard, you guys. This is hard as a rock. So no joke. Brian told me a pressure washer doesn't even cut this, doesn't even phase it. It might have been Brian that said that, or Rich. One of you guys told me that a 4,000 PSI pressure washer wasn't phasing this stuff. And I can believe that. It's very solid. And it has a fibrous constituent to it almost, which helps it bind together. But I was going to kind of give you a half and half here. But like I said, I shut her down. But this is good enough. There's no need for me to... I want to go ahead and make the modifications and then do this again. But just to show you guys proof of concept, one thing that I did notice is our flame is a little crooked. So I'm going to bend the gun. See how the gun's tilted just a bit there? The flame was shooting out this side. So I'm going to bend that. We have no relief here and some relief on this side, basically. We're a little bolstered out there, so it's kind of deceiving to the eye just how much out of alignment we are. It's not much. It's just a little bit of flame was feathering over the edge right here instead of going straight down the barrel. So I'm gonna give that a bend. And we're gonna give this thing another try tomorrow. Okay, again, we were able to completely relieve the bolts to a point where if your objective was to disassemble this and replace something, that's totally possible. This thing is, I would call this done. Yeah, it's got a little bit of residual left on there. But if you were out in the field, you know, this is just removing rust protection, really. So for the most part, getting the lion's share of it off of here, I think this is an acceptable cleaning job. There's no sense having a guy out there for 40 bucks an hour getting this thing spick and span, or whatever you road crews make these days, but usually prevailing wage job. So, but nonetheless, man, these bolts are now accessible. I'm impressed. I got to tell you, I was a little scared about this. But when I seen it cutting through this stuff right here, I knew we were in good shape. Oh, that is just nasty. Nasty tar. Oh, fellas, this thing's the real McCoy for sure, man. A couple more adjustments, and I just want to say one more thing about it. We haven't even had time to really fool with the settings much. I did adjust the water a little bit. This is another way to adjust the temperature, by the way. The less water you put into it, the hotter the steam is. You know, you can turn the flame up too, but I didn't really have time to, apparently I got water pressure still hooked up. I haven't even had time to mess with the settings. You can make superheated steam with this as well. That was a kind of a saturated steam right there. I've discovered that the water, the locomotive force of the water, or the kinetic energy of that water, helps move the tar along a little bit better than just hot steam by itself. So just food for thought. Now, out of the front of this gun, we are getting a 96,000 watt hair dryer. It's just blasting heat out of the front of that thing. And what that's doing is preheating this tar. It's like just taking a blowtorch to it and just kind of going over it and scanning. Pretty much see through that tar again. This will show you how clean that thing actually is. There's a little bit on the outside of it, but it's so minute that it ain't really nothing. So tell me what you think, Brian. Like, how clean would you want to get this stuff? I think this is good enough, personally. If we did this whole thing to look like this, that ain't hurting nothing. And this here, I wouldn't even clean most of this stuff off because you're just relieving rust protection. I would just clean the pertinent parts. But that's test number one. We're going to give this thing another go tomorrow. And we're going to tamper with the settings a little bit more and see what different type of steam jet characteristics we can get. We also still have some nozzle testing to do. That's all we're working with right here. Just a standard round nozzle. So I'm going to get this video thrown together and get it sent out to Brian and Rich right away. You guys have been waiting forever on this, man. I've been so busy, guys. I just haven't had time to do it. And I wanted to build that jig to spin this coil. It was in the last video, so just not enough hours in the day. All right, guys, this is a compressed air blowtorch that I built. I call this the rocket torch. This thing's putting out about 96,000 watts of power right now, and we're looking at it here. Actually, it was a little bit more on that last clip. The rest of this, guys, is just some GoPro footage of what this thing looks like when a guy's using it. I do need to put a grip handle on it. I'm using the hose in this footage kind of as a left-hand handle. As you can see me grabbing the hose there to kind of hold some of the weight. That does work very well, actually. But I am going to put like a side handle on it, kind of like the type of handle you put on a drill, a hammer drill or something like that, just to give you that extra control, nozzle control. It's a little bit easier that way, but nothing exciting is going to happen in the next couple of minutes here. Just get to watch me make a bunch of stupid faces. This is just the GoPro footage of me running the gun because I wanted to see how much splatter and how much mess we're making. As you can see, there's like literally hardly no water coming off of this thing. I'm doing this right here in my shop. If this was a pressure washer, I would need a freaking raincoat, for crying out loud. I don't know if any of you guys have ever cleaned anything with a pressure washer before, but it's a bad idea. Sure, the object you wanted to clean spick and span when you're done, but everything in the surrounding is covered in dirt and slime. And I mean everything, your eyeballs included. So, I'm shutting up, I'm out of here. I hope this works out for you guys.